Good night, everyone. Welcome to another live and Unfiltered, another episode. Happy April. We all made it to another month. Yay for that, which means it's officially another quarter of the year. So that's exciting. So we're going to get into it a little bit. I'm Nicole, and I will be your host for tonight's live.
And tonight, I'm the co-host, Shanellealaine.
And let's go ahead and get started. Ain't no need to prolong nothing. Right. Let me get my handy dandy notebook out. Thank you. So I actually want to switch things up and talk about a hot topic. Sometimes we talk about them, sometimes we don't. So I want to go ahead and talk about the viral circulating clip of Marvin Sapp commanding the ushers to close the church doors during usher time. Okay. We saw everyone do their own captions, and at first, you know, I don't know, it's like clickbaitish, but anyway, there's so many different captions and interpretations on the vlogs and TikTokers and Instagrammers. So I want to know if you've seen the video. Yes. I have. How do you feel about it? Do you feel like he was wrong? Do you feel like he was right?
Me personally, I feel like the way he delivered it was wrong. So, you know, he has the 40,000 just sounds so bad. Like, it just sounds hostagey. Like, I'm holding you at gunpoint. Give me this, or you can't leave. It sounds very hostagey. So I feel like maybe if he delivered it like, hey, we're trying to come up with a goal of this amount. You know, who's able to give, who's able to contribute, who's able to, you know, give towards the cause. This is the amount we're coming up with, whatever the case. If he went about it that way, it seemed less demanding and less, what do you want to say, like micromanaging of his congregation. I feel like the way he delivered it, like, okay, we're gonna lock this door, you ain't coming out. And I understand it's like you're supposed to give a tithe, you're supposed to give offering, but there is a certain way to go about it. Like, I wouldn't go about it the way you did. It sounds very much like you know what people's pockets look like, and that's not the case. You don't know how people's bills are set up. You don't know how their work hours are. You don't know the lifestyle they have. So they give what they can, but the fact that you have a set amount, I would have never did that. I would have said, if he left it open to saying, hey, this is our goal, if you can help us reach this goal, I feel like people will be more receptive. But locking the door and telling me I can't leave, or I'd never come back. You ain't gonna tell me how my pocket's set up.
Yeah. I do agree that his delivery was off, and I think he admitted it. He was like, he was a little too assertive, and I'm like, I think it's just the way he went about it and his tone and everything, and it came off real bad. So I think that's why it was a whole uproar. However, when it first came out, because like I say, people were captioning it, like the blogs were captioning it, like different things. I thought he was like literally, like, he wasn't really telling the people like you have to pay money or you can't leave, but like the way they labeled it, it was like he was forcing the people to pay, but he really wasn't though. So you have to like go back. He really wasn't.
I did understand when he was like, oh, there's 1,000 people online, there's 1,000 people here. If you give this amount, this is how we're doing. I get that, but I still feel like literally open into your congregation, but like, all right, we need to get to 40,000. It just sounds so much in people's mind. They're not thinking, oh, I'm gonna give this small percent. It just sounds like he was expecting them to pay way more than they probably wanted to. So again, it goes back. Yes, he corrected himself, and yes, he presented it like, hey, this is 1,000 people. If we give this amount, this is how much is. I get that, but I feel like, again, it's just how you're saying it. It's like you're.
It was his delivery. It was his delivery because, with me growing up in church, like, that's not unfamiliar.
Right.
Like, during offering time, you usually don't walk around and move around and stuff. Like, this is, even if you're not giving offering, you just sit in your seat, be quiet, let the people who got the money go give their offering, and you just wait until offering is over. You know, there's not too much like movement and stuff, because like you said, it is a sacred time. You dealing with money, like, you ain't supposed to be causing distractions and stuff. So I do get it, but I also think because it's at the end of the service, people's trying to go home. So it's like, well, if I'm not giving money, I'm about to go home, you know, because he did say in the video, he's like, we're going to all leave together or something. He's like, y'all just going to go to those restaurants or something. He was saying, like, trying to be funny. And they laughed with him. Typical pastor joking, like, oh, y'all ain't doing nothing after this but going to eat. And we be like, yeah, pastor, we hungry. Like, oh, we be talking about that, pastor. Yeah, pastor, we hungry. But it was definitely his delivery. But as far as offering time goes, I am familiar, like, during that time, you aren't supposed to be leaving and up and, you know, out your seat and stuff. Like, it is a time that you are supposed to be seated, but the way he came about it, it was wrong. And people who didn't grow up in a church, they are going to probably be like, what the heck? This is why I don't go to church, you know? So it kind of left a bad taste. And I'm like, this is why people don't go to church, because you kind of like, you prove them right why they don't go to church, you know? And it's like, I understood it, but that's only because I have a church background. But if you ain't got no church background, you're going to look at that like, yeah, no. Won't catch me in no church like that, you know? I don't know.
I will say, I mean, my pastor did that too, but it wasn't like a hostage situation. It was kind of like, all right, like he would just be like, all right, the doors are closed, so you ain't got to rush to go nowhere. But it wasn't no like, you know what I'm saying, like offering was already collected. It was more so like sit down, finish out the work. Because, you know, sometimes when they start to sing that little final song, people get they already out the door. So he would do that. He would say, all right, the doors are locked. Like, you know, we could sit down and take our time. But obviously, if you go to the door, it's not technically locked. But it was just to reassure us, like, you know, because it's distracting in the church. It's supposed to be, like you said, second place. So, but it's never doing an offering. He's smart. He collect offering midway service. So we don't, it's right. So it's not like, you know what I'm saying? It's a little different, I feel like. But when it's money, you know, money and church are like, they're like oil and water.
It has a bad reputation.
Right, very bad. Yeah. So I'm like, when something like this is so broadcasted, it makes it even worse. Because
I don't think his intentions were bad. I think it was his delivery, and I don't even think really the congregation was probably all that upset. It was more so like it hit the internet, and like obviously the internet was gonna, if it was just left between the congregation, like they get it, they came to church, they understand how church talk, but it's like it hit the internet and people was not having it. So it just, I don't think he meant wrong by it. I think it was his delivery, and I don't even think he really meant to like tell people like, we ain't leaving until we collect this money. I think it was just his delivery. So it sounded that way, but I know that's not really genuinely what he was saying. Yeah, but people like, y'all don't be up moving around.
People ain't gonna sit here and think like, oh, he genuinely meant this. Baby, they're gonna hear something and run with what the narrative is.
I know, and that's the thing, is because it hit the internet, and most of the internet, they're not church people or church goers, so they don't understand. Like pastors, sometimes they can get a little snappy, they can get certain pastors, not saying it's right, but like, I don't know, like sometimes their tone can be a little more assertive, and I don't know, it just didn't go as well as I don't think he meant no harm, but harm was kind of done. But I don't think the man should have been getting death threats and all of that I don't think should have been done. It's not that deep at all. Y'all don't even go to the man church, so I don't think that's necessary. Anyway, moving on. So since we are in April, I do want to get into some talk of, you know, how the year has been going so far for us in the first quarter, since we did just complete January, February, March, which is the first quarter. So what was a high point in the first quarter and what was a low point for you? It doesn't have to be like super low, but you know.
A high point for me for 2000.
For the first quarter of 2025.
A high point, I will say the fact that I even made it to 2025, because there's a lot of people that didn't. So I feel like I'm able to come in a fresh year. I had no goals, and it's like I'm set on these goals, child. For me,
as you should.
I'm more focused. I'm more what's the word I'm trying to say? I'm more
intentional. That's my word, baby.
I'm trying. There you go.
You know, that's my word right there, baby.
Right, it sure is. I'm more intentional behind what I'm doing. I'm more purposeful. And, you know, I'm just taking life in strides. Like, I'm trying to be more understanding to the fact that, like, shit just ain't gonna go my way all the time. That is okay. That is also a high, because, you know, God might be saving me from something, or I'm learning as I'm getting to that point. So that's a high for me. And I feel like the lowest of lows is just like everyday life, you know, things, like I said, that's also a low too, because you want things going how it's supposed to go. You want things done in a, you know, in a drop of a hat, and sometimes things just don't work out the way it's pinned it to work out. So I would say my highs is just being focused on my goals and getting things done in a timely manner, and the time that I give myself, and give myself grace to understand that things aren't going to get done exactly how I want them. But then also too, like my shift is, you know, just to, I guess my low is also to be more patient with myself and understand that, hey, it will happen, but you might have to pivot a little bit. So those are my highs and my lows. There's just slight changes in between both.
Okay. A lot of self-reflection. Okay. Love it. As far as the high, I kind of agree. Like just making it to another year and then also being able to celebrate my 29th birthday. I thought that was amazing. So, just celebrating another year around the sun was amazing. That was definitely a high. And then also a financial high is not having any more car payments, paying my car off.
Thank you.
That was another high. Thank you.
Yeah, we did
Welcome.
that.
Well, she
Pay
said
that car off.
absolutely because why would I can't read? Oh Jesus!
She
Can
said
you read that?
absolutely because why would you lock me in there? So a C, but I never really understood why I put a price. Girl, I can't
Oh,
read and
Marvin
I read
Sapp.
that tonight, so
Okay. She said, "Why would you lock me in sow a seed?" But I never really understood
understood
why I
why you
put a
put me.
price.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. So it was his delivery and his tone.
Yeah.
Like, and he really could have left the amounts out. Like, if you want to talk to your leaders and be like, okay, amongst us, like, I'm expecting us leaders to put this much in, but you know what I'm saying? Like, don't be. It was his delivery. It was his delivery.
I think so too.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So now we're talking about like a high point in this first quarter of the year. So January, February, March. What was the high point of the year so far, and what was the low point? So Chanel shared hers. That was my high. Starting another year, paying off my car, and then a low.
No, thank you.
Thank you. That's a major high. But a low, I would say I struggle with this because I'm like, dang, it's only been 3 months. I don't feel like I experienced like a really, really low point yet. But I will say, like to go along with the everyday life, I just feel like in a sense I'm kind of like stuck in a cycle. So it's like a mental, I would say, like it's like a mental blockage. Like I feel like I'm stuck in like a cycle of like doing the same thing, same daily routine, and I just want to change, you know. So just yearning for like a change in my everyday routine and wanting to feel like you not just waking up doing the same thing over and over and over. So that's more of like just like a mental thing. And so in order for us to, because now we're going into the second quarter, and I feel like in the second, I don't know about you, but I feel like in the second quarter, like, baby, that's when you crank things up a notch because we already don't count January for real. January is everybody's trial month. So you really only got February and March for real to like play around with in the first quarter. Ain't too much, but a lot can happen still in 2 months. So in this next quarter, like if we are trying to reach our full potential, like what are some things we may have to sacrifice? Because everybody want to get to the top, but they ain't ready to hear about these sacrifices. You know, not everybody willing to sacrifice.
So sacrifices, I feel like there's a few that I can list. Me personally, I feel like one, you might have to sacrifice your time. So instead of spending time doing maybe more like having more leisure time, maybe times that you are out and about, maybe times that you are, spending more money, you cutting back on those things because I feel like in order for you to reach your goal, you have to set yourself up to win and not to fail. So if you're already saying, okay, my goal is to save this amount this month, but by the time the month came in, you don't spend on like 5 different things. You're already putting yourself in a deficit. You're already behind on what you need to save before you could even start the month. So I feel like when you're more cautious of what you need to do, and again, that goes back to the whole goal setting. When you set a goal, it's more what's the word I'm looking for?
What, intentional?
No. I'm tired of intentional now. Wait a minute. I don't want to say more. It's not more. I guess you could say it looks more realistic. Like for me, if I see something written down on paper because I am a visual learner, it looks more real to me versus if I mentally put it in my head. So if I'm saying, okay, I gotta work X amount of hours this week, sometimes I might gotta schedule myself so it's more real for me. Because in my mind, I'm like, I really could have, like, because now I'm playing. I'm going back and forth. Like, well, really, I just said that, but I didn't have to do it. But when it's written down, almost like a to-do list, I feel like I'm forced to accomplish those tasks for me personally. So being more direct and be more direct with my goals, and also being more, I guess you could use the word intentional. Be more intentional behind it. Like if you don't want to spend it, don't spend it. No, I do. I just don't want to overuse the word, but I will say also, like I said, putting down some of your leisure time. Like if you want to pick up a new hobby, then you may cut half of, going out on the weekends or whatever you do, cut that in half and, add to something productive or something that you want to do. So I also feel like sacrificing, time to create self-awareness, help, reflection. I feel like that's also a thing you can do, because if your mind isn't where it needs to be, you're not going to be successful, right? You have to, your mind and your heart is two different things. They're going to work on two different paces. So in your heart, you genuinely could want to do something, but if your mind is not put to it, you're not going to accomplish it. So I feel like if you sit down and really think it through and be like, okay, in order for me to be successful, this is where I need to be. You're in agreement with yourself. You locked in. Can't nothing else throw your focus off. So, only you can help you, basically. So that'll be my points. The sacrifices. I'm like, what else? I feel like I said, going out, cutting back on spending, be more intentional with your goals, being more mindful of your, yourself, I guess. And those will be mine. Yeah.
I agree with time for sure. You're gonna have to sacrifice time
management,
which goes with maybe you gotta sacrifice some sleep, because I know a lot of successful people in the beginning, they had to sacrifice sleep in order to get to where they are, and then after a certain point, then you can probably schedule a little bit more sleep. But yeah, getting up and starting your day earlier, that's a big one. We've talked about that before. If you're expecting to get a lot done and you're waking up at 10 a.m. and you're saying you have these big goals for yourself, baby, half the day is gone by the time you get up and actually by the time you actually get up and get into motion. Half the day is gone. You're already starting off behind the clock. So you'll have to sacrifice some sleep, which means just get up a little early and start your day. You can't sleep in as long as you want to. You may have to sacrifice people. We always hear everybody can't go to the top with you. So, it may take a lot of evaluating your friendships and just the people in your circle, even family. We don't talk about that too, child. You just gotta, some people you just have to reevaluate, and you'll kind of notice too, as you elevate, I feel like they'll just start revealing themselves anyway as okay, this person, I'm getting a jealous spirit from them, or what they say, monitoring spirit or whatever, and you just know how to all right, I guess I gotta move on from this person. And then what's another one? Fun, like you said, you might can't go out as much and you might have to miss out on some things, but the temporary sacrifices you make is going to help towards the overall, the bigger goal, and the permanent situation that you're trying to put yourself in. So fun, and then comfort. Literally, you're not gonna get to where you're going living in comfort. The things that we're comfortable with is the things that hold us stagnant. So you kind of have to get out your comfort zone, and that's a big one, because a lot of us, people, we hate change. We just don't like change. We don't like change, and getting out your comfort zone requires change. So that's another one. She showed that. She said, I agree with Chanel. That's where I'm at with it. I don't know what point you made, but she agreed with you.
When I was talking about the goals, in order to, the goals, and then I was talking about time, sacrificing your time.
Oh, your sacrifices. Yes.
And then someone said, hi, hello, welcome in.
Hi, welcome. So guys, we're just talking about the first quarter of the year, and our highs and lows. We went over that, and then we're just talking about if you're trying to reach your full potential, what are some things that you have to sacrifice? So Chanel mentioned time. What else she said?
I had said sometimes you have to sacrifice your time. You have to sacrifice or be more intentional behind your goals. You also have to maybe, take away a little bit of the time from doing fun and leisure things and applying it to something else that could be more beneficial to you. And I said something else, but
that's pretty much that, yeah. And then we added on, you may have to sacrifice people and comfort. So that's that. All right. Going into our next topic, I want to read this quote that I stumbled upon, and I want you to give what's your interpretation of this quote. So it kind of goes along into, trying to change and reach your full potential. So it says, you can't have one foot in your old life and one foot in your new life and expect change. You got to fully commit to the new life. What's your interpretation of that quote?
And literally, I mean, it's self-explanatory. It literally said that if you can't have one foot on, it's okay, here's an example. You can't have one foot on sand and one foot on water. Anytime you're at the beach, you're either going to get sand and water, or you're gonna get sand in water. You rarely ever get sand without the water unless you're really far offshore. You know what I'm saying? So you can't expect to put your feet in and not to get your body wet, basically. So I feel like in order to see changes happen, you can't do the same thing and expect change. You can't have the same routine and accept change. Just basically what you're saying, you'd have to become uncomfortable to get comfortable. It doesn't make sense. So in order for you to see some type of change, you have to do something different. You have to push yourself out of your comfort zone and say, okay, maybe if I take this chance, this is going to be the reward, but there's always risk with reward. So here's all the pros, here's all the cons. You decide which one outweighs and you go from there. So I feel like you can't, like you said, let's say I want to get up at 6 a.m. You can't expect like, all right, I'm going to set this goal to get up at 6 a.m., but then you're going to go to bed 2 a.m. the next morning. You're going to be too tired to get back up in 4 more hours. So set yourself up for success. So, okay, I'm going to go to bed at 10, and now that gives you more hours where you know for a fact, okay, I could get up on time, and it becomes a routine. So if you want to see change, you're going to have to make that change at some point, gradually too. You don't have to do a drastic change because everything takes a little time. You can't convert everything, but I feel like as you put into practice and you take your time to do these things, then you slowly start to see results. So basically, start with change to get change.
Yeah, I agree. It's pretty straightforward. There's like so many examples you can give. So I feel like too, it's like you can't be lukewarm with anything. Especially if you're trying to form new habits, like you said, like maybe getting up earlier, or you want to stop drinking, you want to stop clubbing. Like you kind of want to like retire that scene because that was the old you, and you're trying to like become a more mature woman, or you're trying to reach a certain level of success where maybe you don't want that to follow you. You can't put yourself in environments that may have you going back to those, the things that you're trying to change from. And you can't surround yourself, sometimes around people that they know you for being in those environments. There are some friends that are turn up friends. And you might, if you're trying to stay away from the scene, you might gotta talk to your turn up friends and say, hey, I don't want to do these things anymore. So, can you respect that? It may even ultimately come down to them may not being as close of friends to you in the long run because that's just not your life anymore. Right. So with anything and any new habits that you're trying to form, like I said, you just have to be all in. You can't 1 minute, you're doing it, next minute you're not. We fall short, yes, but if you can avoid putting yourself in environments that's going to allow you to relapse, then do so. So that's basically my interpretation of it. Like if you're going to change, you're going to form new habits, or you're trying to see a different outcome, you have to do differently. You can't keep following the same routine like you said. So that's just that. All right. Moving on. All right. Let's change up the tone.
Okay.
All right.
We've been changing tones all night, babe.
Let's switch out the tone. Let's have a little fun a little bit. So enough of the positivity talk. That was awesome, but let's have a little fun. So I want to talk about the term or the phrase crashing out or crash out, which has been around for a little minute now, but we've never talked about it. It's like a Gen Z term, so they say.
What we is X, right?
We millennials, barely.
Who was X? Gen Z?
Gen Zs are like the generation after us.
I know what it is.
I feel like anything after 96 is a Gen Z. And I don't care. Fight me. We the last one.
Put in the comments, okay?
I'm ready to talk about that. 96.
I agree. So
96 and above. We millennials. So yeah, so it's like a Gen Z term. So what's your definition of
crash out?
Crashing out. Yeah, like what's your definition?
Okay, so my definition of crashing out is when someone, I feel like I associate crash out with social media. Because I feel like you could crash out at home, baby, in private, just though nobody will know. But I feel like the term crash out really derives from the fact that you're doing it so publicly, and it's like either you're publicly embarrassing somebody else because of a situation that happened. That could be like you feel jilted, you feel like, you're losing control of a person or losing control of a situation. So you want to get your point out first. And then when you're trying to get your point out, you're so angry to the point that it's coming off like, oh my goodness, you're the problem. And it's like, okay, maybe you're really trying to voice your opinion. So I feel like crash out is more so you doing something in an instant instead of thinking about it. You're bringing up all these feelings, all these emotions, and it's like after you do this and you really sit down, you're like, oh my goodness, I look crazy, because now you come to your senses. So I feel like it's you just kind of stepping out maybe on a different side that you've never experienced. It's somebody else's someone else has caused you or to evoke a different type of emotion within you that you probably didn't have control of. It's usually when people feel like they don't have a stance on something, or 90% of the time, I feel like the person who's crashing out might be in the wrong, but they're trying to clear their name before they can be in the wrong, if you get what I'm saying. So,
yeah. Like, that's one way of looking at it, yeah.
Right. You know, it's like, oh, let me clear the air before, you know what I'm saying? Let me try to put this out
People
before.
have done that, yeah.
Right. And then it's like, in the end, when you do, now the other person is forced to come out sometimes, not everybody, but come out sometimes and clear their name. And then it's really like, oh, or they stay silent, and then here you go looking real crazy. Because I'm like, what they say, baby? The best response is no response. So you out here arguing with yourself, man, you really look crazy. And then you're mad that nobody's giving you the energy and the time. So now you're still going and going and going and going. You're digging yourself into a bigger hole. So
I see that a lot with like the baby mama, baby daddy drama on social media. Yeah, that's a good example.
That's what I think it is.
So I think a little different. So I think that's what it is too, but it don't have to be public. I feel like crashing out can be public. It can be private.
It can crashing be out private, but baby, nobody gonna know if it's private. That's
it's still a crash out. I feel like okay. So let me tell you my definition. I just feel like crashing out is when you're literally taken out of your normal character. So they just taking you out of character. You know, you allow your emotions to erupt and take you out of character. That's to me is just crashing out. And I feel like there's different levels of crashing out. I don't feel like it's always like the thing that hits the media. It could be like, you know, something that happened in your home. You know, it could be a domestic situation or just anywhere, honestly. I feel like the setting of crashing out could be anywhere. But it's just like when, like you said, after it's done, you sit back and reflect like, I don't think that was necessary, or man, that's not even me. Or like, man, why did I let this person take me out my character? Like, you know, when you start having those thoughts, you probably just got done crashing out because, you know, the fact that you have to say all that, like, dang, and you start feeling embarrassed or ashamed, like, dang, that person really had that much control or power over my emotions and had me, you know, acting out of character. So that's definitely crashing out. What are some examples you think that are like acceptable ways to crash out or accept? What am I trying to say?
Well, first of all, I don't feel like it's ever necessary to crash out. Now,
it's never necessary. Oh, it is. I'm gonna list a couple.
Hear me out. Now, if somebody cut me off in traffic, I'm gonna be pissed as hell. I'm gonna be pissed. But then you gotta remember, you cut somebody off too. Like, let's say you really gotta get over to that left lane. You gotta think about it.
Oh,
like,
definitely.
Damn. They probably, you know, wasn't following the GPS. They probably just missed the turn and they cut you off. Yeah, that pissed you off because you probably was having a great day. But how many times, to be honest, have you cut somebody off too because you done A, missed the GPS, B, you was talking on the phone, missed your turn, now you done cut somebody off. So you got to think like, damn, they feeling how I feel. So it's like, yeah, you may be crashed out and pissed in that moment, but then sometimes you're like, damn, I could have did something like that. What if it was me? So I feel like sometimes that's the same thing. Like, we act first, think later. And it's like sometimes you are in situations that you cannot correct. You are in situations that you can't go back and say, oh, my God, let me redo this. So that's why sometimes you got to calm your down. I almost cussed.
It's okay. I got you.
I'm like, calm down and really like evaluate the situation and think about it. Because again, it's like nobody's perfect. Things are going to happen. And like it goes back to everything that we're talking about. Sometimes things are just out of your control. And the only way for you to respond is up to you. It shouldn't take someone else to push your buttons, even though, boy, there's some buttons that you push.
People sure know how to do it.
But I feel like that's an example. Now, like I said, it might be.
So, with your example, you said, though, play it cool. So, that's one way somebody may crash out, is what you're saying.
Right. You could crash out real bad in that car, but ain't nobody going to know. I mean, nowadays, it's like, who finna let down their window, do the little middle finger, cuss somebody? I'd just be pissed in my car.
Oh, my God. I don't do that, but, like, I have had that done to me before. And I'm like, bro, that takes so much energy out of you. But I just be looking at them stupid.
You got to think about it, though. We're living in a different society and a different world right now where it's just like, you might piss somebody off.
Oh, yeah. They
might
be crashed out on me.
They follow you. They ended up hitting your car. Like, you know, road rage is a real thing. So it's like you got to pick and choose your battles, in a sense. Pick and choose your battles. But like, okay, do I want to make it home today, or do I want to test this person and see what's going on? You never know. And sometimes I feel like a lot of situations can be avoided because you just don't know what a person got going on. You don't know if they got fired. You don't know what the situation is for this to unravel, and you might just be the last piece of their puzzle, and then you do one little thing wrong, and you done, you know, trigger everything. And it's like, mainly you're not the problem, but you end up getting the results. Basically, you get crashed out on. So that's one example. I feel like a good time to crash out is behind your kids. I don't play when it comes to mine.
Thank
That's
you.
my human child or my doggy child. I crash out real bad, and I mean real bad, because if I can't protect what's mine or protect my family or protect my loved ones, it's kind of like, well, who's going to do it for them? You know, especially like a kid, they're so defenseless. They're not at the age to really speak up and be opinionated. They're not at the age to protect themselves. You know, they do know a little bit of right from wrong, but kids are always going to do wrong. They like to touch the fire. You tell them not to. They want to touch it, see how it burns. Okay, they have to learn for themselves. So kids sometimes, like, they're more emotional. They're more coddled. They're more, you teach them the good things. You don't teach them like, okay, you gonna cuss somebody. You're not gonna tell your kid that. It's like, okay, if someone is being mean to you, just be respectful back. But you as a parent, you're gonna step in and say, oh no, like, as an adult, this is how I feel. This is how I understand. This is what's going on. But you handle it as an adult as opposed to a child. So I feel like standing in the gap for your kid. Yeah, I go stupid by mine. So
yeah, you're gonna crash out for sure. That's a good reason.
That's probably my most valid reason. I just don't play when it comes to my kid. That's it. I said the main one. There's other reasons, but I'm gonna just stick to that main one. Like, I was
waiting for that one because I'm like, that's on my list too. I feel like, bro, that should go for anybody that's a real parent. Like, you just should never play when it comes to your kids.
My kid, like, I don't know. Like, if something happened at school, my child wait a week until it's passed to tell me, because she's like, Mom, I already know how you're gonna get.
Crash out.
Hello. So she wait until it's been died down, and then she tell me, and then I'm like, well, I can't do nothing now. It happened 3-4 days.
That was the point.
Right. So she knows when to tell me stuff. But then if it's not too bad, she'll tell me. But if it's something where she know I'll go to the school about, she'll wait until it dies down and then say, okay, Mom, this happened. I said, well, how did you deal with it? Or she may say, oh, I told the teacher and teacher handled it. I'm like, okay, cool. As long as it was addressed, because sometimes kids do bully and kids may say mean things. And I'm like, I may not address the kid, but I do need to speak to the kid's parent as to why, my kid is feeling the effect of your child, whatever the case. You know what I'm saying? So you're not crashing out too much, but I be at the school. I don't know if that's crashing out, but that's just me.
No, I think coming up to the school is not crashing out. Now, if you go up there, make a scene, cussing people out, then I think that would be more of a crash out situation.
Straight to,
yeah.
I go straight to the principal.
But I feel like you're just going up there to talk and like get some straightening going. Then that's not crashing out. That's literally just you getting.
That's just you stepping in, protecting the kid. Yeah. I ain't going there vandalizing nothing.
Yeah,
no, I ain't doing all that.
That's not crashing out at all. That's reasonable.
I mean, I just be like, so why did this happen? Like, I don't ask, I kind of just go off of what I'm told and say, okay, well, did you see this? What's going on? Why is this happening? I'm more so addressing the situation, I guess you could say. Crash out, if you want to call me crash out. Yeah. I don't know.
No, if you go up there cussing out the staff and faculty, then yes, that's crashing out. No, but some parents do. I've definitely seen it. And I don't know the situation, so I can't even say nothing.
Yeah, no, but, you just put a target on your kid's back by being disrespectful to the teachers. I'm not being disrespectful, but I'm going to just let you know, like, hey, I'm going to bring this to attention and I'm going to speak up.
Right. Okay. So I agree. That's number one. So someone that tries to harm you or your child, I think that's a good reason to crash out, or has intentions to harm them, or have ill intentions towards them or you. Right. That's a good reason. Don't play about yourself either. Don't play about your kids, and don't play about yourself either. True. So those are good reasons to crash out. And if someone's, I don't like stealing. So if somebody's stealing something valuable of mine, might just crash out. Apologize later.
I did crash out on somebody for that, babe. I mean, going stupid. But again, it's just because I feel like it was my hard-earned money, and I feel like it's different when someone just like, I don't know, like it's just different when you know the fact that you work hard, you've earned your money, and you've went out the way to do something for yourself, and then somebody come behind you and take it because they got sticky fingers and they thought it was free. Oh, I'm finna go. Yeah. I'm gonna go down because I just feel like even if you had spoke to me, it probably could have been like, all right, here, you could have this. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could have communicated, maybe let you borrow it, but the fact that I felt like you came out of nowhere when I felt like I could trust you, and now you show me that I can't, I'm finna go stupid. You're gonna hit my mouth. Yeah. But that's a reason, because it's your property. You know what I'm saying? It's not like...
that's what I'm saying. These are good reasons to crash out. because you don't know what a person went through to obtain those things, and you just thinking you just can up and take. Don't like a thief at all. So I'm crashing out behind the thief in things that are valuable.
I agree.
All right, so I'm gonna give you some scenarios now, and let me know: are you gonna crash out or you gonna play it cool?
You gonna give me scenarios of what I'm gonna do in the situation?
No, I'm gonna answer too. We both gonna answer. So I'm gonna give a few scenarios. Okay. And you let me know: are you crashing out or are you playing it cool?
Okay.
Okay. The first one. And let's try to keep this brief. Thank you. Your kid's not listening. You ask them to do something or ask them to stop doing something over and over, and they just doing their own thing or ignoring you. Are you crashing out or are you gonna play it cool?
I'm gonna crash out. I ain't gonna hold you because
if you didn't say the answer, I'm gonna be like, you capping.
I'm not hold. No, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna hold you. After them talking to you the first time, that's cool. The second time is cool. By the third time, I'm thinking about how high my blood pressure is getting and the amount of time I'm going back to why you didn't did it the first time. I'm going back to why you didn't did it the second time. And now I'm upset now because I've given you 2 chances. I understand if it was just like one and done, but no, I've given you the first chance. Because sometimes, again, kids, their mind is everywhere.
Yeah,
so you talk to them, hey, can you pick this up? Right. Hey, can you pick this up? They don't listen. The second time, hey, can you pick this up? Now, if I go over there and I slip and fall, you're going to understand why I asked you the first time to pick it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to be upset now because I've gotten hurt from something that I saw and I told you. That's a good reason to crash out because I've spoken to you 2 times. So I feel like you give kids a little bit of opportunity. You don't just get upset at them. You don't just get mad at them, but you talk to them. You let them know, like, hey, can you please do so-and-so? Oh, you ain't did it? Hey, can you please do so-and-so? Okay, at this point, my voice is now elevating times 3 because I've already asked you kindly twice. And at this point, you're just ignoring me. You just don't want to do it. And I understand kids are going to be kids. Cool. But I'm going to crash out, so I ain't going to hold you. At the third time, I'm done. I'm going to crash out.
It depends on the type of day I'm having, but for sure, like, especially if I'm already irritated by some other stuff, like, bro, you not listening just ain't making it no better. So, yeah. And I would say, like, crashing out for me would just be like you said, I'm just yelling. Like, I'm just yelling. I may not even,
I ain't busting up, I'm breaking up, not that. I'm yelling, I'm elevated because
nothing past that. I'm just gonna yell at you because you need to hear me, you need to feel me. So that's just that. So okay, so I'm not gonna crash out every single time. Like if I'm having a good day, I might go over to you and be like, hey, I know you heard me, and bring you to the thing that I need you to do that, as like I made, You
crash out as needed. That ain't every time.
Yeah, as needed. It's not an every time thing. Because kids really do be in their own world. And they are known for ignoring you.
Hello. They will.
So, yeah. All right, next one. You have some leftovers in the fridge from your favorite restaurant. Child, it's your favorite restaurant, probably your favorite dish. And you've been thinking about this meal, Finally, you go to open up the fridge, the meal gone. Somebody in your house done ate your meal. Are you crashing out?
To be honest with you, I probably ain't need the extra pounds. I ain't gonna hold you.
So you gonna play it cool. Kudos to you.
Now listen, when I was younger, my brother always did that. My brother would do that. He'd be like, oh, she ain't really like to eat anyway, so he would go in the fridge and eat my food without asking. I went straight to my daddy every time. Go straight to my daddy. Daddy, my dad was like,
why would he do that?
I was hurt as a kid, but as an adult, I feel like it's fine. Like I wouldn't be now if it's happening often. Oh, I'm a trip.
Yeah.
But if it's something where you may have just assumed I didn't want it no more because it's been there for like a day or 2, or it's been there longer than you thought I was gonna eat and I didn't get around to it. I understand. Like okay, if you're hungry, at least just mention something to me. But now if it's some seafood, so I'm gonna lose it every time.
Telling you it's your favorite meal. Like just think of your favorite meal. It's so
you telling me
you've been
it's a crab boil. It's a crab boil in my fridge, and when I come back,
it's a crab boil in your fridge. Yes,
I'm gone.
You're gonna crash out. So it depends on the meal, right?
It depends. Okay. It depends. Like after I spend my little $40, I'm gonna need.
Yeah, it depends on the value of the meal. That's true.
I think right. Because if it's some McDonald's or something, I could just run and get a little $5 meal.
Yeah,
it's not that big of a deal. But again, if it's something where I feel like I have my whole heart set on it all day, and I come back, I might have to talk to you 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I'm hurt behind this. You owe me a meal times 2 now. I might be a little.
Yeah.
I don't know.
A little bit
If
crashed
it's my
out junkie.
favorite food, like seafood, oh, I'm over it. But if it's just something simple, like I could go back down the road and I'm gonna be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. It depends on the meal. Like, but you know, if I'm thinking of my favorite meal, I'm probably gonna crash out.
Right.
Like if it's a favorite meal of mine, and like you say, if it's something that costs a few coins, yeah, I'm gonna crash out because that's not something you could just simply go repeat and buy if you already had to spend a good amount on already. So yeah, crashing out. All right, last one. Are you ready? This one's a little spicy.
Oh Lord.
You ready? All right, let me set up the
I don't think
scenario.
I have a choice, so you gonna ask it anyway.
It's not too bad. It ain't too bad.
Okay.
All right. You've been talking to this guy, right? For 6 months. Yeah, but you know, get to know each other. Cool, everything cool. And then you find out he plays for the other team. Are you crashing out or are you playing it cool?
Hold on. Run that back one more time.
You've been talking to this guy for 6 months.
Okay.
Okay. And you know
so
what?
6 months of my life.
You know, us women, by this time, feelings are involved. You know,
Okay.
I don't know about
6
love,
months.
but it's been 6 months. You've been talking to him, and I don't know. Y'all might have been kicking it or whatever.
Okay.
And then you find out he plays for the other team.
I don't know, sis, because if you're saying you talk to that person, if it ain't serious, I feel like
he plays for the other team. He like what you like. He like men's.
No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but I'm saying if you're talking to that person, I don't know about anybody else's intuition, but I feel like your intuition would already kind of show you that, or you pick up on that.
Okay, let's say it didn't. Like everything was going like it's really just 3 for a curveball.
Like I got shocked. I'm just shocked.
Like this
I just found
3
out.
for a curveball. It's like no, you did not give. Like he's trained. Like he didn't give that energy.
Being honest, I probably would crash out at first because I'm caught off guard. I would have never seen it coming. But again, we're going to focus on that. But if it goes back to intuition, I feel like I wouldn't be a shock because I already seen it.
Yeah, you would have been peeped. Yeah.
Cool. I would have been peeped. So I just be like, all right, I got it. But if I'm just caught off guard, oh, baby, I'm going to crash out. Not only did you waste my time, but you played in my face when you could have been playing for the other team for real. I would have had no problems. So I'm like, I would crash out. I'll probably have some words. I feel like, damn, six months of my life I can't get back. I would feel some type of way. I'm not going to hold you because I feel like even if that's the case, you should have voiced that to me ahead of time and let me choose like, okay, am I going to keep talking to you or am I not going to not? Because at that time, you playing with my life, you playing with my time, you playing with my environment. I don't know what you got going on with that person. I don't know if they're in beefs and stuff. And then you know I'm dealing with you and da-da-da. What you say? Crash?
Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like there's so many elements. I wouldn't even crash out so much because I like the person. I would crash out because of the situation. Yeah. So now you have me looking stupid times 10. That's what would. I would be more so mad about the situation. I wouldn't care about what you're doing, but it's just the situation. Yeah. If you presented it to me ahead of time, I would have had the choice logically to be like, okay, deal with it, not. But okay.
Yeah, I definitely would say I would crash out. It also depends too, like, have we been intimate? Have we not? Have we just been talking?
I'm a crash out, period.
Like, no, well, there's levels to the crash out.
Yes, sis, there is. But I would say, again, I'm shocked. I'm finding all this. I'm not asking whether you've been with a person, whether you're not. I'm just looking at the fact of...
saying, like, whether you and that guy have already been intimate or not. Like, if y'all have literally just been talking, like, yeah, you're going to crash out, but you may not. It's like, okay, cool. I'm happy that I didn't let it get that far. I'm happy I found out now. You know, so it's a different level. Like, I'm still crash out, but, like, on a smaller level because it's like, okay.
I'm gonna crash out, period. Level small, medium, or big.
No, because if we done did things and then
I'm gonna be upset behind it because I just felt like you played in my face with them.
Yeah, but now I'm thinking about my health.
It's not like small, medium, or large. I'm good.
Well, this is me. This is my point of view. For me, there's levels.
I'm gonna be upset, period.
That's you. For me, I'm gonna crash out regardless, but there's levels to the crash out. Like if I'm finding out before we get too far, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna crash out on you and then block you, and that's just gonna be the end of it. And I'm just gonna be thanking God, like I never let it get too far. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, I got saved. But if we done already went to third base, and I'm like I'm gonna be extra floor. Now I'm probably gonna vandalize, terrorize.
I'm not about to sit here and categorize what level of crash out.
I am because the scenario is
No,
That's me.
I'm already gonna be thinking about that happening, even if it hasn't happened. Period. I'm just about, what if it got that far?
I'm gonna be like, thank you, Jesus, it didn't get that far. It's gonna be like, I'm gonna crash out and then like, thank God that I found out when I did.
You
So
got
yeah,
it. So you got
that's
more
it.
patience than me.
That's no patience. He's getting crashed out on regardless. I'm telling you my thought process. I'm just gonna be grateful that it didn't get that far. All right, that's the end of this crash out talk. That's the end of this live. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you for commenting. We are here every Tuesday. We alternate weeks. So this week was on my personal page. Next week will be on Chanel's personal page. So kick it with us 8 p.m. every Tuesday, unless otherwise. But we're trying to be more consistent. We're going into the second quarter. And I just hope everyone have a wonderful, wonderful April. I mean, we're gonna be back next week, but I'm trying to end it off on a positive note. Make sure you guys follow the podcast page, Live and Unfiltered, here on Instagram. We post all of the highlights of this live on that page. Follow our YouTube as well. It's Live and Unfiltered. You'll catch the full live later this week on our YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. And I believe that's everything. So have a good night.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.